Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, elders of wisdom, young visionaries, and beloved sons and daughters of Africa. Today, before we speak about books, before we speak about science, before we speak about history, let us speak about land. Because something sacred is already happening in our land. Across Kenya, East Africa, Africa, the soil is beginning to breathe again. For years, our earth carried burdens it did not choose. Chemicals designed for industrial agriculture elsewhere were poured into African farms long after they were restricted in their countries of origin. Reports in the late 2010s revealed that more than 80,000 tons each year of pesticide produced and banned for use within the European Union, I can confidently say that because it is so, continue to be exported abroad, but part of it and most of it reaching developing agricultural markets, including Africa, and Kenya being the main consumer. And so, the land endured, the rivers endured, the farmers endured. But today, we are witnessing a quiet revolution. Farmers returning to organic practices, communities rediscovering indigenous crops, healers restoring botanical medicine. And the earth responds, ladies and gentlemen, because the African soil has memory. The African soil has a balance, and it remembers that balance. The African soil remembers biodiversity. The African soil remembers us because we came from the same soil. The Africa we have is not what we were intended to have. It is not the original Africa. The Africa we were never introduced to. The Africa you are not allowed to know for generations. Africa has been described, and it doesn't describe itself. Has been described for itself through absence. The tables that discuss Africa, the Africa is absent on those tables. Then our voices on those tables are meaningless. Yet, what we produce in our motherland is what holds the whole world still. We were told that we lacked. We were told that we don't have enough. Yet through history, we produce the highest labor force for Europe to grow, for America to grow. We produce the highest raw products globally up to date. We were told that we didn't have. Really, were we told what we built? Tonight, we correct the record. Calmly, truthfully, fearlessly. Not to reopen wounds, not at all, but to restore the dignity. We were told that Africa did not have literature. Let me clarify on that. Manuscripts filled the scholarly cities of West Africa centuries ago. Texts that discussed medicine, mathematics, agriculture, politics, law, and philosophy. You don't know about that. Knowledge existed here. Africa was not without intellect. Africa was without recognition. We were told that Africa watched the star with myth. But pastoralists across East Africa read celestial movements to guide migration and agriculture. The sky was a calendar. The universe was a teacher. Long before satellites were put up, Africans studied cosmic rhythms with accuracy. We were told medicine came from elsewhere. Yet, Kenyan communities healed infections, fevers, wounds, and metabolic illness using structured botanical knowledge passed across generations. The Maasai are healers. Up to date, you know that. The Kikuyu herbalists, the Luo medicinal traditions near the lake, this was not guesswork. You can't tell me the Maasai, the Kikuyu, the Luos were still doing guesswork and getting the outcome. It can't happen. Not for a decade, not for 2 decades, not for 10. You tell me how Africa started in the 18th century. I take you to Gedi in Kilifi, where we have cities that date back to 11th century. What was that? So cities would thrive without medicine, without healers. That must be a joke. We were told civilization arrived late. Let me also clarify that. African metallurgy, architecture, and ecological agriculture sustained societies for centuries. Our ancestors farmed without destroying tomorrow, like what we are doing, as opposed to what we are doing today. Today, climate science struggle to rediscover what Africa tradition never abandoned. We were told oral tradition meant ignorance, but oral systems were disciplined memory sciences, ensuring accuracy through rhythm, repetition, and communal verification. Knowledge lived not only in books, it also lived in people. There is a Kenya's untold cost, and I'm going to share this with a lot of pain. Truth demands courage, because knowledge suppression was not only intellectual, it was human. Kenya endured immense violence during the colonial period, particularly during the emergency in the 1950s. Historical research estimates tens of thousands of Africans died. Many were detained, displaced, or confined in villages and camps during the counter-insurgency operations. The events surrounding the Lari massacre in 1953 became a symbol of national torn apart, followed by the severe retaliatory campaigns that reshaped entire communities. That is stretching from Nyeri to Kiambu to Murang'a, all the way to the other side of the Maasai. The events have shaped the history that we have today. Among spiritual movements resisting colonial authorities, such as those in Koloa in 1950, deadly crackdowns left scars still carried by families today. Among the Maasai, forced displacement from ancestral grazing lands disrupted livelihoods, weakened population, and exposed communities to disease outbreaks under confinement policies. Disease followed displacement. Hunger followed land loss. Population decline followed systemic disruption. The same things are happening. These are not accusations. They are history. And yet, Kenya survived it. The Africa has been hidden beneath that survival. Despite everything, African knowledge did not disappear. It went underground in grandmother's kitchens, in closed doors in our homes, in sacred grooves, in herbal mixtures prepared quietly at dawn. While the world industrialized medicine, Africa preserved relationship. Relationship with soil, relationship with plants, relationship with mountains, relationship with nature, the relationship with rivers, relationship with life itself. Why is this bothering me? Why does this matter? Today, the world faces chronic disease, ecological collapse, and nutritional decline. And suddenly, humanity is rediscovering prevention. Plant medicine, food as medicine, food as therapy, holistic wellness. And the ladies and gentlemen that are in front of us here agree with that conversation. The world is moving towards what Africa never abandoned. Africa is not catching up. Africa is becoming relevant again to humanity's survival. And now we must speak honestly, not against faith, but for its evolution of faith and faith structures. Traditional African spiritual systems protected ecosystems because, one, nature was sacred. Secondly, forests were preserved because they were holy. Water sources were protected because they were revered. Life was respected because survival depended on balance. If modern religion guides millions today because they control the millions, it must also guide health as a matter of priority. This goes to a pastor, a preacher, a sheikh, a religious person. Guide your followers as though their life depends on healthy eating, because it does. It must teach wellness as a responsibility and nutrition as stewardship. Environmental care is moral duty, because a faith that prepares souls but neglects bodies cannot secure a future. And the future of Africa depends on health. Not tomorrow, now. So today, this archive we launch is more than literature. It is restoration. It declares Africa was not empty of knowledge, because these herbs are African. Africa was never empty of science, because this has been backed up by African science. Africa was not empty of medicine, because this is a literature of medicine that existed, still is, but we've forgotten. There was a disconnect along the way. Then Africa was interrupted. And you know, the interesting part of this is that Africa today continues. Let the soil heal, ladies and gentlemen. Let the rivers cleanse. Let the people remember, we are not returning backwards. No, we are moving forward, guided by ancient intelligence and modern clarity. Africa does not rise by imitation, not at all. Africa rises by remembrance. And when Africa remembers fully, the world will listen. God bless you.